photography media, and today I'm just going to do a short tutorial video on how to edit your food photography to really get that detail and pop in color that you want out of your food photos. Now this photo's already been edited, as you can see, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we're just going to reset it and get our settings back to straight out of camera so I can take you through step by step as to what we're going to be doing. So we're just going to do a few tweaks in this. It's going to be adjustment with our, we're going to do a little bit of light adjustment, a little bit of color adjustment, and that's it. All right. Now, one of the first things that you want to do is you want to make sure that you're in control of what your viewer takes a look at. So we're going to use a little bit of creative cropping and rule of thirds principle. So you come over here to your crop overlay tool, and I like to line up with horizontal lines as much as possible. So I'm going to take this insignia here and try to line up with the very top of the bowl. Okay, that looks pretty straight to me. And then I might just bring this in a little bit for our rule of thirds principle. There. That's pretty good. I like that. The viewer is going to be taking a look at this particular taco right here. So now I'm going to do a little bit of adjustment in the lighting. I like to drop my exposure just a teeny bit so that I can play around with the other tones here with the highlights, the shadows, the whites, and the blacks. The next thing I like to do is create some of my own contrast. Now you can use this slider with the contrast slider and that will do it all on its own, but I like to be in control of the whites and blacks. It just gives it a little bit more detail that I want to see. So I brighten up the photo just a teeny bit with the whites and I drop my blacks. Give it that contrast. Yeah, it looks nice. And maybe I want some of these shadows here. Maybe I want some of the detail of the shadows to come up, so I raise the shadows just a little bit. Not too much though, because I don't want to introduce any unwanted noise. The next thing I do is I go down to the presence section and I use the clarity tool to give the detail some pop. So I don't do too much of this, but I bring it up just slightly to really bring up some of that detail. Now, I think it's an underrated tool, the dehaze tool. You see how the majority of the photo has a little bit of this matte haze to it? Well, I'm going to take some of that out with this dehaze tool, and we're just going to bring up the slider. And as you can see, the other thing that it's doing is bringing out the reflection of the varnished table, which looks really nice. Maybe leave it about 20. I really like that there. Now, the colors are looking pretty good. But let's say I just want to give the green and the red a little bit more pop. So I'm going to use this saturation tool and maybe just give it a little bit of presence. Perfect. Just even at 10, it gives it that much more detail. The greens and the reds are really pronounced and it pops nicely. Now we did mention a little bit about how shadows will actually bring up some unwanted noise. So I'm going to go to this section of the photo and take a look at what that looks like. Now don't be afraid of a little bit of gray, and sometimes that can actually add to the artistic expression, but just for the sake of this, we're going to remove a little bit of the noise. So you go down to your noise reduction tool and taking a look at this little preview window, I'm going to take out a little bit of the noise, raise it at about 10, and it gets rid of some of that. All right. So that photo looks pretty good. And if we look at a side-by-side comparison, see there's a major difference. All right, and hopefully you've enjoyed this short tutorial video on how to edit your food photography. Please leave me a comment or subscribe, and we'll see you next time.